Hey buddies, Swuggy here, coming at you another Borderlands 3 video. Today I want to show you this insane combo that we've been working on. If you guys are familiar with the most recent video where I displayed how to build properly and how to make OP builds and other things like that, we actually discovered a really fun interaction with the loader bot. So if you guys are interested in the journey on discovering this interaction, it's on the top right. But this interaction allows you to deal upwards to 200 million damage with Novas if you get lucky with the crits and everything like that. So I'm just going to real quick summon my loader just so I can show you how much damage this can actually do. So hopefully we can get a right there. So right there, that was just one Nova. We had 7 million. This wasn't even a crit. The first crit was actually some reflection damage. So right off the bat we had 7 million damage, and the damage only gets higher due to some combos that I'll be showing in a few moments. But pretty much this build is all about just the pet dealing tons and tons of damage, and it's really fun because no matter how far the enemies are away, they can shoot the target and then just get randomly huge Novas on the enemy, or even the pet will summon these huge damaging grenades. But before we can get into the meat and potatoes of the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch on the top right, and let's get into it.
Legendary? Whoa! No way, dude!
So the shield I'm talking about is going to be the faulty star. Now every single time that the shield gets damaged, there's a chance that there's going to be a Nova that procs on the attacking enemy. This Nova can come in on whatever resistance that you have on your faulty star. So I have a shock, fire, and radiation. I'm just using radiation right now, but you could definitely switch over to shock if you're dealing with mainly shielded enemies like I am right here. We have the anointment on every single one of these shields. Every single time we activate the attack command, the pet will then do a missile, and the loader does a fantastic job at doing its attack command no matter at what range. Even if it doesn't hit, the important part is that it consumes all terror and then make the pet deal 200% more bonus damage. Now this is really good because we want the pet to be able to do bonus damage. So I'm going to apply my terror right there. He's going to send out the missiles, and now he's going to deal exponentially more damage. So if we can get over to an area like right there, he deals lots of damage. So let me go over to an area with more enemies so I can showcase how much damage the shields can actually do. So let's go over to the Malamon takedown real quick. So this area is a really good area on testing this type of stuff due to the fact that there's a large quantity of enemies. So we'll be able to see the crazy amounts of damage that the actual loader can do. So let's actually get to an area where there is a decent amount of enemies, like right here. So I'm going to spawn him, and then all the turrets will start targeting him. And you'll notice that some of the turrets will just explode out of nowhere like that, and that turret exploded as well. Pretty much every single time that the loader gets damaged, there's a chance that Novas like that are going to spawn and just instantly kill the enemy. And as we're killing enemies, the damage is going to ramp up higher and higher. And you notice that some of these Novas were around 34 million. And the crazy thing about that is that those 34 million Novas were also accompanied by the 200% more incendiary damage, but these aren't even fully powered Novas due to the fact that we don't even have the perk that when we take damage, it increases pet damage. So we could activate our sellout like this, and now the pet will start dealing more damage due to the fact that we damage ourselves, which is very nice. It's a great on-demand effect to increase damage. The reason for that is a certain skill tree point that we'll talk about in a few moments. But I will real quick just spawn the loader out over there, and you'll notice that he'll just spawn these huge Novas that can kill enemies very good. And I briefly described it, but some of these Novas aren't even fully realized. Like the 44 million that we saw earlier wasn't 100% the max damage it can deal, due to the fact that we also have the ability for the Nova to crit, and when it does crit, it gets tons and tons of multipliers, because there's a bunch of different things that we can add to this build that allows the damage of the crit to deal more than just 2 times damage. So it can get up to like 200 million. I've seen 300 million randomly, and we can even shoot with ourselves on this build and still do decent damage. Now that I showed all the crazy Novas and how much damage this stuff can do, let's actually look at the skill tree for a brief moment, just so we can actually understand what's causing all this damage. So let's go over to the skill tree. Now the most important thing that I've been really stressing on Flak recently, the last 3 builds I've done with Flak, has been a gimmick with fuzzy math. And the funny thing about this particular build is that this fuzzy math combo requires 5 as opposed to normally 1 Now, if you saw my messy breakup shield combo, it spawned tons and tons of drones because fuzzy math allows it to regenerate a tiny bit and then immediately deplete because it's only given 3%. If you guys are interested in summoning tons and tons of pet drones, click on the top right. But with this fuzzy math setup, you want to have 5 because we want to restore the shield as much as possible, because if the shield gets depleted, enemies aren't going to have a chance to actually damage the shield. It's going to damage the shield once and then it's gone. Now, fuzzy math has about a 0.5 second cooldown, which is very unfortunate. If it didn't have any cooldown, which I think it probably shouldn't have a cooldown considering fuzzy math isn't like the be all end all for Flak skills, but if it didn't, this would be even better. But pretty much when we have 5 out of 5, every single time the pet critical hits an enemy, which is very easy even if the pet isn't targeting it, due to the fact that the reflecting damage from Heya Buddies can also crit, so it could just randomly get its shields back by getting hit, which is awesome. But 15% shield is very good because it'll give a decent chunk of the shield back. Now, not every single shot on most enemies is going to completely deplete the shield at 15%, so this gives the shield a couple of chances to actually proc its Nova. So that's why 5 fuzzy math is so important. The more shield we can get on the pet, the better, because we want the shield to actually be damaged. If it's depleted, it's not going to do anything for us. Now, the other important skill tree points is going to be Throat Ripper. As I said, these Novas can crit and even deal more damage than it was dealing before, because some of those millions of damage that you saw, like I said it like 2 times by now, but the 44 million damage could have been even higher if we got a crit. Now we have Monkey Do, so when the Throat Ripper crits, it's going to deal 70% more crit damage than it would have in the past, which is very, very good, as well as give us some damage since we're using a kinetic weapon, so we're not faltering on our damage formula at all, because if you use an elemental weapon, sometimes Monkey Do can change the damage into kinetic, which could mess with your damage, but that's why we're using an OPQ system. But that's discussion for another day. And then we have Take This, which just gives our pet basically the shield. So that's the real important stuff. And let's go over to the Valkyrie squad, and I'm going to just show you how much damage we can deal. Like right there, that the Kraken just died immediately. Right there, that guy died immediately. It's just crazy how much damage this build can actually do. So let's go over to the Valkyrie squad so we can show a little bit more off on why this build can deal damage even without the Novas, because the grenades and a bunch of other stuff that the pet can deal is crazy. Unfortunately, our pet is not quite here yet. The pet should spawn here in a few moments, but I'm going to just spawn him preemptively, and then I'm going to use my attack command, and you'll see that this immunity phase will immediately just go away. See, the attack command didn't even get a chance to hit. It was just a grenade that dealt all the damage, and then these guys spawned immediately, and the pet is already clearing most of them. All I needed was to shoot him one time right there, and the rest of the enemies just died immediately, which is really good. Not only that, is that the shotgun from the actual pet deals heavy damage, which is very good. You could just be roaming around and you'll see that the pet will just hit with the shotgun, and since it has a 15% chance to crit, you'll notice that randomly you'll just get hollow points and just deal like 250 million damage out of nowhere, which is very fun. And we're also using a red Fang, as I'll show in a few moments, so it's guaranteed that the enemies will actually target the pet as opposed to anything. Now, sometimes the hollow points or even the grenades will apply Groundbreaker to ourselves, which then allows us to deal lots of damage with the face puncher, because sometimes I'll see an enemy just die, and then we will just pull out our face puncher, and then we just deal upon like millions upon millions of damage. Now, right there, that wasn't a great example, but we were still able to kill those enemies really quickly. And there's another Valkyrie squad right there. Now, before we continue, let's explain more of the skill tree. Now, we are looking to deal as much pet damage as possible. Because of this, we have Gotta Go Fast, we have Frenzy, Psycho Head on a Stick, Hive Mind, Interplanetary Stalker, Most Dangerous Game, and Grim Harvest, and finally Furious Attack. Now, first, I want to talk about the amount of pet damage that you can actually get. I was spending a decent amount of day calculating how much pet damage you can actually get from just the red tree versus the green, because I know there's going to be some people questioning why I didn't get Power Inside, because Power Inside is going to be a free 50% more damage on the green tree if I were to ignore the red tree. Now, albeit the Power Inside is very good, but I calculated all the pet damage that you could potentially get from the green tree without Lick the Wound, because Lick the Wound is not a good resource on getting dedicated pet damage, so we're only going to be talking about max Furious stacks, Fast and Furious, and the Power Inside. If at full health, you get a total of 110% total pet damage for the first 15 seconds due to the fact that the Power Inside only activates for 15 seconds. The reason why I'm not going for the Power Inside is because our Gamma Burst lasts for a total of 35 seconds due to the fact that we have endurance. Now, endurance makes Gamma Burst last 15 more seconds. Now, Gamma Burst is baseline 20 seconds, which is very, very good. So if we add endurance to that, that means 35 seconds. So only for 15 seconds of Gamma Burst, we're going to get a total of 110. Now, as soon as that 15 seconds goes away, we're going to only be left off at 60% for a remainder of the 20 seconds of the Gamma Burst, which is not ideal. For that reason, we are going heavily into the red tree to get Grim Harvest. Grim Harvest gives you 7% pet damage every single point, while Furious Attack only gives maximum 6% pet damage, which is very, very nice. I could, in theory, get rid of Megavore to instead add an additional 6% pet damage, but I don't think it's very necessary, and I think Megavore is a fine skill to have on Flak to allow yourself to deal lots of damage, because you can deal lots of damage with just the gun yourself. Not only that, you get Big Game in the red tree. Big Game is very, very important because it's going to boost a lot of different skills, but interestingly enough, what I discovered is that the Big Game doesn't boost pet damage for Most Dangerous Game or Furious Attack. It'll boost all those skills by 30%, like gun damage, handling, stuff like that, but pet damage. So unfortunately, these two don't get that. But it will still boost Interplanetary Stalker, Psycho Headed on a Stick, and Frenzy, which is extremely important for this build. So baseline, just by existing, like having the pet just out, we'll get a total of 81.5% pet damage with this setup. But as we kill enemies, it'll get upwards to 200% and even higher due to endurance, Hive Mind, Psycho Head on a Stick, and stuff like that, with the 30% bonus damage, as well with Frenzy, which is huge. So it's very important that you build Red Tree if you're going for a pet damage build. On top of that, we do have lots of other things that allow you to deal crazy amounts of damage, as you see right here. You can start shooting. Of course, most of your damage is going to in turn come from the actual pet, but you notice that the pet can pretty much do all the damage for yourself. And since we have the skill head count, we're kind of utility for the pet. So we're going to be shooting the enemy, getting our action skill back as soon as possible, because the pet is going to be pretty much the main DPS, and we're just going to be its utility to allow it to deal more damage by proccing terror anointments, such as using the face puncher to apply terror to ourselves, and then activating the attack command so the pet does additional 200% more fire damage, which is very, very valuable, I gotta say. And as I said, you'll notice that the pet does its attack command very, very easily. And the reason why this build works so well, as I said briefly, is Red Fang. Now, Red Fang is going to be the class mod that I have equipped on this build, that every single time we activate Gamma Burst, it's going to make all the enemies taunt the actual pet. So all the pets are going to be focusing on the pet, which then in turn procs Faulty Star, which is amazing because these will allow you to deal crazy amounts of Nova damage, as I said before. On top of that, we're using a Hex. Now the Hex does a great job at dealing tons and tons of damage when it's thrown from the pet, because the pet gives the recurring Hex a 50 times bonus damage increase due to the fact of Mayhem scaling and pet bonuses and stuff like that. You could also use a longbow triple sticky, or any triple sticky, because the sticky will allow the damage to double dip in the pet formula, and it can deal up to 2,500 times more damage than normal, which allows you to pretty much one-shot, like the Shear allows you to one-shot Herbivorous and stuff like that. Pretty much any boss that you can think of will immediately be one-shot if it gets lucky with the longbow. So if you're doing mobbing, go for the Hex. If you're doing bossing, go for the longbow. And I briefly stated the face puncher we're using allows us to apply terror to ourselves. Now, the reason why I'm not using action skill and terror as I was testing on my previous build is due to the fact that the grenade global throw anointment actually does boost pet damage, which is very weird. I wasn't expecting it was going to, but this allows you to boost pet damage. And when the pet actually throws it, it's going to proc the anointment as well, which will then allow you to deal even more damage, which is very, very fun. Now, the Hex we have is Radiation, which means that we can get nasty raid novas to come out sometimes, which is very, very nice. The elemental projector that we're using is a victory rush. Of course, the elemental projector part or the victory rush is not going to really help our pet. None of these bonuses actually help our pet at all. It's primarily going to be helping us. Interesting key fact that I learned from doing this build is that area of effect damage actually does boost the pet attack command, but it's also been stated on some sources that it also boosts Nova damage. I personally haven't seen the increase by having secondary stat area of effect damage on the Faulty Star Nova. Perhaps it works on other Novas, but for some reason it doesn't seem to work on the Faulty Star. From my testing, perhaps I'm just seeing things, but I do have splash damage on my red Fang and elemental projector just in case. And of course, we're using a low level sellout to activate Hive Mind to increase pet damage on demand, or even activate elemental projector for ourselves to allow us to deal even more damage than we were before. And since we have Monkey Do, every single time the pet crits, which will be very often, we do get a small little bonus increase from the damage. You'll notice that some of our shots will be amped, which is very, very nice, allowing us to deal more damage than we could in the past, or even without the amp, which still allows you as a player to deal decent damage with Flak, which is always nice to see, especially with a build that is usually set up to only deal damage with the actual pet. So it's nice to be able to deal damage with Flak as well. And I'm going to briefly go through the skill tree one more time. So we got all the way down on red for Megavore. Most of these skill points will allow you to increase pet damage. Most importantly, big game boosts other things as well to increase your pet damage even further. Then we go only 3 points into Furious Attack due to the limited skill points that we have on the tree due to the fact that we need to get Fuzzy Math. So definitely get Fuzzy Math and take this and Throat Ripper as well as Monkey Do to increase your critical hit damage from the Novas. And then finally, you want to go the Psycho Head on a Stick and a Hive Mind. It's very important to at least get down to Endurance if you're doing something like this, because you want Endurance to allow you to deal 50% more pet damage at max stacks. If you're ever doing a build similar to this, make sure you get enough points to allow you to get Endurance. I was testing something that didn't give me Endurance at one point, which is a big mistake, so make sure to get this if you're doing this type of setup. And I just want to give a huge shout out to the members that make these videos possible. We got 31 Bar 70, Clairvoyant, Jace Noodles, and Galaxy. Thank you very much for supporting us. It's because of you guys that I'll eventually become full-time. If you guys want to help me just as little as $5 a month, click on the top right or the comments in the description to become a member today. The more members we have, sooner I can get to become full-time, which means more videos for you guys. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.